For someone who spends so much time wearing a shirt, you think Kratos would have a better tan?
A talking severed head jiggling on Kratos' butt cheeks is the best part of the entire game series.
Welcome to the Council of Nerds.
The Council of Nerds.
Welcome to the Council of Nerds. We're your hosts, Dan
And Braun.
and Braun. He's here too. Oh shoot, Siri.
Welcome. Oh no. Something for Logan to edit out. He'll probably leave it in. Sadly, we are without our lovely co-host Logan today. He is in the wonderful burning utopia of Portland. Just having a good old time, I'm sure. But Dan and I are going to take the reins here. Dan and I both have PlayStations. Logan is lame and doesn't, so he doesn't play with us because he hates
he's
us.
not a gamer.
He's got an Xbox.
Xbox is lame.
But I'm sure most people listening to this are going to say PC Master Race and all that crap, so whatever. But all y'all on Xbox and PC can't play the beautiful gem series known as the God of War series. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Dan and I had similar experiences with this series, is that we didn't get to play the original games growing up. Me, mainly because my mom didn't want me to play them.
That makes sense, yeah.
But
for me, I just didn't. I owned a PlayStation 1, played Crash Bandicoot, and then it was pretty much GameCube, Xbox 360, and then PlayStation 4. So I never played any of the God of Wars. Never really heard of them either until the newest one was coming out.
I knew they were out there when I was gaming as a youngin'. A lot of my friends talked about them quite a bit and gave them quite the praise, which they deserved. They're great games. They're known for their hack and slash, their gore, and for their great story. Really, ultimately, there's a very intricate story through the whole series. Please excuse my voice if I sound a little bit different today. I am a bit under the weather, but it makes for a good boy voice, so I might throw that in there one or two times. But yeah, God of War isn't just a gory hack and slash game. There's a really intricate storyline, which, I mean, ultimately culminates in just about everybody that gets near Kratos dying. So there's that.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look up the exact number, but there is so many games in this series. It's ridiculous. You had 3 games on the PSP, RIP PSP.
They should bring it back, honestly.
I loved it. If they did a mobile version with a little bit better graphics in like the PS5 era, I'd be down. I'd be down.
Or like a PS2 emulator on your phone. That'd be super cool.
I'd enjoy that. I think I'd need to I'd need to get like an iPad or something to have a bigger screen. But yeah, it's a very sad story with our boy Kratos. The first there's 3 games in the series before you get to the chronological first game, God of War. But the backstory is super sad. So most people know Kratos as this super pasty, red, weird, tattooed, large gentleman known as the Ghost of Sparta. That's not how he started off. He has always been a Spartan, though. That is kind of where he comes from. But he is pale white because a oracle used magic to take the ashes of his wife and daughter, who he accidentally killed, and ingrained them into his skin. So that's super depressing. Ares tricked him into killing his wife and daughter, which pissed him off and made him kill Ares, and that's how he became the God of War in the end. But the red tattoos actually are from his brother, which is also a backstory. Zeus, who is his father. It gets very
Spoiler alert.
convoluted. Spoiler alert, convoluted. He's the son of Zeus, but Zeus hears a prophecy that he'll be killed by his son, as his father was killed by Zeus, and as his father killed his grandfather. It's a whole thing. And it was actually Kratos' brother who had birthmarks that looked like those red tattoos, and his brother got kidnapped, blah, 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 blah. So to honor his brother, he got those tattoos to resemble the birthmark that his brother had. So that's where his look comes from. In the original games, he had a really lame, pointy goatee that I really didn't like at all. And then in the new installment, to 2018, is that when it came out? 2017? God of War, he's got a big old beard, and he looks much more brawny and manly. Fun fact about... Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
No, you go ahead. I was going to do a fun fact, but I don't want to steal your fun fact.
Fun fact about Kratos, he's died 4 times in the continuity of God of War, and each time, either through his own power or through the power of some random god, he's come back every time. So, what's your fun fact, Dan?
My fun fact, initial designs, drawings of Kratos, nothing like they are now. He had long flowing hair, and he carried a baby on his back.
I saw
So
that concept art. It was super weird.
That would not be fun.
Another thing is his tattoos were almost blue instead of red. But they felt like the blue didn't work, and I'm glad they didn't go with blue. Cause
Yeah, I think it would have been too much.
I like the red. It's very Spartan-esque. So that's not a problem for me.
It's kind of like a blood stain almost.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Yeah, Kratos. Dan told me this fun fact, and it made me laugh. Kratos kills one god in every single game, except notably for God of War 3, where he kills how many?
7.
7. Because,
Just a few more.
why not? I think I have his kill count for that game. The first one's Poseidon, and every time he kills a god in the third game, like a major disaster happens to the world. It's crazy. Yeah. He kills Poseidon.
Poseidon flooded the earth, right?
Yeah, the world gets flooded. like if you weren't on top of some hill that day, you're dead. You're done. You are gone. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for playing the game. You lose. I don't know what all the super disasters are for each one of them, but the next person he kills he actually gets killed, and then he finds his way back after he kills Poseidon. Then he kills Hades, which I think lets the spirits of the underworld go to the earth again, so people are just haunted by ghosts. Then he kills Helios, which causes the sun to fall out of the sky. Then he kills Hermes. I don't know what happens there. He kills Hercules. He kills Kronos, the father of Zeus. Then he kills Hera. Then he kills the smith god Hephaestus. Pandora dies at one point. Gaia betrays him, and he kills Gaia. And then he ends up killing Zeus, and then he kills himself. So, whatever. Not a big deal. He's got quite the body count. In the first game, he kills Ares. I think in the second one he kills Apollo or something. I don't even know. Athena dies at one point. So many people die. If you've heard of a Greek myth, it's represented, and Kratos then decapitates it. That is basically...
Or smashes it into a rock until it's pulverized.
I think he gouges out Zeus's eyes with his thumbs. I think that and you have to press the thumbsticks and actually drive your own thumbs into his eyes, and it is the most gnarly thing that I played God of War 3. It's the only one that I did play, and it starts off with a boss fight with Poseidon, and I'm like, well, I have no idea what's going on. I guess I'm killing Poseidon. Okay, cool, let's do this, and the game just kicks off. It's super cool. It's a good time. Ultimately, it's a very fun game, and it's another fun fact. there's no adult language in the game series. They're
Really?
M-rated games for other content. You
Obviously.
have hydras and whatnot that are topless and other mythical creatures that show some skin. But there's no actual adult language, and it's mostly just because of the gore, which is kind of interesting. If you're not bothered by that, then it's a it's a decent M game. Not always the case, but I thought that was really cool. I didn't know that, but it's not something that I really noticed either. But after he kills himself, he releases the power of hope, I guess, into the world. It's all convoluted by the end of it. They kind of jumped the shark. But it reverses all the natural disasters, and the world is allowed to move on. And then, nigh on how many years later, we get just God of War, or what it is affectionately known as is Dad of Boy.
Dad of Boy.
And it's a phenomenal game. Dan, I think, probably has more knowledge on it. He's probably played it more recently than I did. But it's a fun game, and there's some interesting facts about the concept of God of War 3 that changed and that led into this game. But Daniel-san, what are your feelings
Yes,
about Dad of Boy?
So God of War, the new one, it was probably one of my favorite games I've played in years. I was living in South Carolina, looking for a job. Got a job in Park City, and I had 4 days until I flew out. The game was out, and so I rented it from Redbox. I pretty much stayed up 3 days straight just playing the game, which, like, I've never done with a game. But, I played World of Warcraft, like, a lot in high school. Never stayed up, like, all night, all day, all night, all day just to play it, which, it's basically cocaine in game form.
Right.
So I love God of War. I love the story. I love the graphics too. It was cool to kind of see Kratos and his son's interaction throughout the game, as well as he's kind of harsh, but he's really super protective of him. He beat up what is it? I want to say Baldur, right?
Yes,
is that
Baldur.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right in the beginning when he gets attacked, he beats him up, and then I think the first thing he does is go and look for Atreus after that, which I thought was super cool because before that he didn't really talk to him, kind of.
It's definitely
boy. Never really called him by his name.
Yeah, there's definitely interesting dynamics there. For those who haven't played, we're not going to go into spoiler territory because it is still a newer game. But the game opens up with a significant amount of time gone by. Kratos has a son named Atreus who, I don't know, 12 years old, maybe?
I'd say that, yeah.
At the time. So at least 13 years have gone by. I would say even more. And he's a very different person than he was in the original games. And you're actually gathering wood for a funeral pyre for Kratos' wife, which is super sad. She's passed away. And in the game, the entire objective of the game is Kratos' late wife, who I can't remember her name now, which is really bumming me out, asks Kratos to take his son and to sprinkle her ashes on the tallest peak in all the 9 realms. Now, what that sentence means is that this game takes place in Norse mythology and not Greek mythology, which is super cool. Dan already mentioned Baldur, which is one of those Norse gods. And those 9 realms are the different Heims: Niflheim, Alfheim, Vanaheim, whatever, all the Heims. Jotunheim. And that's what sets them off on this kind of epic adventure to find the highest peak in the 9 realms. And there's some cameos for some super awesome gods, and it's definitely the creators have said that this is the first installment in another set of a story for Kratos. So there will be more games. But yeah, I mean, the thing, like what Dan was talking about with Kratos and his son and that dynamic, I think for me, I saw it as it's something that, like, I have a 6-month-old daughter, I don't have a 12-year-old son, but I have a 6-month-old daughter, and I feel like I take the fact that I'm a dad for granted. Like, I have a kid, and it's super cool. And sometimes it dawns on me as like, wow, I have a child. Like, this is weird. But something that I feel like a lot of people do take for granted in their life is something that is all like daunting to Kratos. The man who has killed an entire Mount Olympus finds being a dad to be like the hardest thing on the planet. Like, he just doesn't know how to do it. And that for me makes him so much more human than in the previous games, because in the previous games he was just a vessel of rage that murdered people, and now he's more methodical, he's more thought out, and I think he's tried to change who he is. But yeah, I think all of us have had awkward moments with our dads in the past, at like with a father-son dynamic. For those female listeners, I don't know if we have any, but a little bit of a different dynamic. But the entire game is just chock full of awkward dad and son moments, and I love it. I love every minute of it. It's so good.
Me too. It kind of reminds me of like The Last of Us with what is it, Joel and Ellie. Yeah, like the entire game I'm like, Joel, just like be nice to her, just like care, you know. Like the entire game I'm just like, do that. And I feel like it's the same, not the exact same in God of War, because like I feel like you can tell that Kratos is trying, but it's hard for him, whereas Joel for a lot of the game is like trying to be apathetic, like he doesn't care, you know. And that's something that I really liked about the game, and it was cool to have like another person there along with you, you know, another person, computer AI.
And I agree, and that's where I find similarities with The Last of Us as well. By the way, Last of Us, another PlayStation exclusive for all you scrubs
Great
out
game.
there that don't play PlayStation.
PC Master Race.
Is that both the games are not just a massive glorified escort mission.
Mm-hmm.
You've played World of Warcraft,
Yes,
as have I.
gosh.
And there are quests where you just have to walk Tweedledee from X to Y and not let him die. Right? Wow, right. And they're the dumbest quests on the planet. They don't help you. They just sit there and cower and freak out and don't help you at all. Whereas
they walk super slow.
Right. Whereas in the examples of Kratos and Ellie, but Atreus and Ellie, and more Atreus, especially Atreus, you actually get to customize him and upgrade his weaponry and his armor sets, and give him new abilities that help him be more effective, as he's trying to help his dad with this mission. And man, it's so cool. I didn't know what to expect going into the game. It looked great. It looked really, really pretty. I knew that was part of it. Same reason that I got, well, not the same reason, but similar reason why I got Horizon Zero Dawn and like Red Dead Redemption 2. Beautiful games. Red Dead Redemption 2, bigger reason why I got that one when I picked it up. But they're just gorgeous and they're fun to look at, and I can like when someone comes over and being like, well, games are done, be like, this basically looks like that movie you just spent $13 to go see, and it's more fun because I actually get to control it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I have nothing bad to say. Well, that's not true.
Yeah, you know, I think there's like I think God of War was one of those games that like, you know, after you beat, you just want more and more. You know, and like there's collectibles, and then, you know, there's like challenge fights, you know, the challenge fights, and those just not what I was really looking for. And
this isn't really a spoiler,
post-campaign.
so I'm gonna just throw this out there because it's side content and it's nothing to do with the main story. But in the game, how many are there? 6?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And then the queen. There are mini bosses, side bosses, and they're Valkyries. What can I say about the Valkyries? I have you if you've listened to this show before. Chance, our friend who has guest hosted before, loves this game more than, well, this is probably his second favorite game. And this guy has beaten this game in the hardest difficulty with as much handicaps as he can put on himself, and done it, and it's unbelievable. And he'll probably be the one that hates me the most talking about this. But I cannot stand the Valkyrie fights. They are insane. I haven't had side boss battles like that in a long time in a game. I wasn't ready for that, and they caught me off guard. But you fight them in these individual arenas, and they're super hard, and then once you get them all done, you have to go to the throne room of the Valkyries and summon the Valkyrie Queen, and then fight her, and she is impossible as frick. And that's because she uses every single fight move of all the other Valkyries that you've beaten at once, and you just don't know what's going to come your way. So that's, that's probably the only negative thing. It's a big negative.
I'll be honest, I never made it to the Queen. I rented it from Redbox for 3 days. I think I beat 2, and I was working on my 3rd, and then I was like, I'm returning this.
Hey, that's an achievement, man. That's an achievement. I haven't platinumed the game. I'm a big trophy hunter when it comes to games. I'm actually trying to platinum Red Dead Redemption 2 right now, and let me tell you, it is a slog of a game to try to platinum. But this game, it was too frustrating. I was on the Valkyrie Queen. I tried it so many ways, and I couldn't do it. And I was told I had the wrong gear and all the wrong this and that. And I was just like, you know what? It's too much work. I can't do this. But in comparison with the first God of War games, the new God of War is a much more, in my opinion, approachable combat style and in gameplay style. The first games, it was kind of like a set piece, fixed camera, and you moved around an arena, and then you'd walk a little bit. It's kind of like it reminded me of some of those old side-scrolly arcade box games, like the Ninja Turtle games and stuff, where you'd walk a little bit, and then the screens would stop moving, and then you'd have to fight what was in there, and then you'd move on to the next section, then you'd fight what was in there again. And then you couldn't move on until you cleared that area. Whereas the newer game is kind of that semi-open world style, where it's still linear. You still have a very defined objective and a finite way to go about doing that objective. But you can go off and explore a little bit and go look at stuff. And I think it's a really well done game. I think there's really no other way they could have gone about it. And the cast of characters in there is awesome. Some of the gods that are represented, you hear about Odin and Thor, but they don't show up. Freya is in there. Dan mentioned Balder already. Magni and Modi, which are the sons of Thor, are in it. I didn't even know Thor had sons.
Yeah.
And then, not really a god, but Mimir is in it, and he is the smartest man in the known universe or whatever, in the 9 realms. And my clip at the beginning of the episode was about Mimir, because you end up cutting his head off, and then he just jingles on Kratos' butt cheeks for the rest of the game. And he's the funniest character in the whole freaking show. The show game, and he kills me. You'd have to play the game to really understand what I'm talking about with it, but he's kind of a guide for you throughout most of the game. But he just kind of sits on the back of Kratos' belt and stares at the gamer the whole time. And it's a good time. But yeah, that's really it. It's a boilerplated, really rendered down version of what the game is. Yeah, I don't know. I have some fun facts about the game. Dan, did you have anything else more about the game itself that you wanted to talk about?
I think one of the things I liked was that it gave you reasons to return to like areas you'd already done when you get new skills, You could go back and revisit, and it wasn't like running through the exact same thing. It would like be slightly different when you'd use the skills and stuff. There'd be like different like enemies after doing that or different paths. I've always liked that in games where like, you know, the environment's beautiful, but it's like one and done. You go there and then you're gone. You never see it again. But this gives you like a reason to go back, you know, whether it's to collect. I forgot what the collectible was in that game, but there was some collectible you had to collect.
There's like
or
the
to, you know, try to
ravens
complete
of
it 100%.
Odin. There were like
Mhm.
Odin ravens that you had to throw your axe at and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. That was fun. I like throwing the axe too. That was one of my favorite things.
Yes, I was gonna say.
I'd just run away from the giant and just throw the axe the whole time.
Probably one of the coolest mechanics in the game is you have this frost axe, and I don't know if it has a name or anything.
Yeah, I don't either.
But
I
it
don't remember
has.
how I got it.
It's very Mjolnir-ish, which is Thor's hammer, in that when you chuck it, you press a button and it recalls it back to your hand from wherever you threw it from. And I tried so many times. There's like a mountain that you climb at one point in the game, and I just chucked it off. And
Yeah.
like, it's not like there's actual time. Like if you are further away from it, it takes more time for it to come back to your hand. It's not just an instant, oh, it's in your hand. It actually travels through stuff, and I thought that was super cool. If it's right next to me, it just pops up in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
But if I throw it off a mountain, it takes a second and a half before it comes back into my hand, and you can hear it hitting everything on the way back. Just
And
it
like you
finally
can,
pops up.
I think it's used in game mechanics too. Like there's some ropes you have to cut, and so you like have to throw it, and then you'll have to stand at a different spot to recall it, so it cuts the rope.
Yeah. There's puzzle mechanics in the game that are really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because depending on how you throw your axe will actually freeze the object that you throw it at. So there was times where you had to, push this object to lift a gate, and then throw your axe to freeze the gate in place and stuff like that. And they were simple puzzles, but enough to keep me interested and enough to at least have me pause every once in a while and go, okay, how am I going to get through this? And I really, really enjoyed that. And what Dan was talking about, too, with the areas reopening, what would happen is you had Jormungandr, the world serpent, in the game. It was super cool. And throughout the game, he would shift. And when he would shift, it would change water levels in this lake that you're in is like kind of the home area. And it would open up different beaches and different areas that you could go and explore and open up different areas. And it was super cool. I really like that too. But yeah, it's a good game. There's a few fun facts, and I have one. I don't know. I probably won't mention the fan theory, actually. If you're interested, you can hop on the Discord and ask me about it. But it's a little spoilery, so I don't think I want to get into it. But I'm going to riddle off a couple fun facts. Kratos is a very tall gentleman. He apparently is 8 feet tall even, which is insane. For those of you who don't know, that is significantly taller than Shaquille O'Neal.
And Yao Ming, who is significantly taller than Shaquille O'Neal.
And if you haven't seen how... So I grew up in California and was able to go to a Lakers game when I was a youngin'. And I remember seeing Shaq on the court. And... like, everybody in basketball is big. Like, there are no... okay, well, for the exclusion of, like, Isaiah Thomas. And, and a few other older players. None of them are... the average height is, like, 6'6". And how tall is Shaq? 7 foot?
I think he's 7'2", somewhere around
7'2".
there.
That guy towered over these other guys on the court. Like, his head could bump into the freaking rim. It was insane. Like
he was big enough that they had to redesign the NBA hoop because he broke, I think, 2 of them dunking on it.
Yeah, he would shatter the backdrops, and so they had to reinforce things. That's true. But then if you just take that and add 10 more inches, almost an entire foot on top of that, that's how tall Kratos is. That's the most obscene thing I learned about Kratos. Yeah. Yeah. That just the thought of that is very terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the other thing that I wanted to bring up is actually in the end of God of War 3. It almost that Kratos was going to open with killing Zeus, and then he was going to fight the gods of Egypt and the Norse gods in the end of God of War 3. And there was going to be a Kratos counterpart in those two mythos sets that he would have to fight, or that he was going to fight against or fight with to take out the other gods. And then the interesting concept was they were going to become the three wise men that brought gifts to the child Christ, that then would have resulted in the beginning of the monotheistic world. And I thought that concept was really interesting because the game is very much a polytheistic, monotheistic, one god, polytheistic, many god style tribute to this mythos.
It quickly goes from a polytheistic game to an atheistic game, though.
That's true, because all of them are dead. Oh gosh, that's funny. I hadn't thought about it that way. Thank you, Dan, for pointing that out.
You're welcome. Good insights.
But yeah, I thought that would have been really interesting. They thought it would have been too controversial, so they didn't go with it. I don't know. I'm glad. I'm glad with the new game. I'm glad that they're giving it its own time. But I think that would have been pretty cool.
I'm sure they'll do Egypt.
Oh yeah. I'm sure they'll throw a few more out there. So, I have one other fun fact there. But what about you, Dan? You got any goodies for the kiddies?
I have a sad fact.
Go for it.
So, Kratos, he's, powered basically by rage and anger and rage.
Right.
So this is a fun fact that I had never thought about. The only time he's ever seen smiling in the games is when he found Calipo, something like that, in the underworld, which I don't know for sure, but actually I don't know who that is. Calliope,
it's his daughter.
Yeah, that's the only time in the games that he smiles at all.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
It's really sad. He goes to the Elysian Fields, which is the good afterlife for the Greek mythos, and sees his daughter playing in the grass, and he's actually given the option by Persephone, who's the wife of Hades, if he gives up his power, that he can stay there with her. And it's actually a really sad moment when he he decides not to, and then he realizes he'll never be able to go back. He'll never be with his wife and daughter again. But, hey, he moved on. Now he's got a kid again, and a new wife.
And another dead wife.
Yeah. 0 for 2.
I want to say her name was like Faye or something.
That's what I have in my head too. I have like Faye is what's in my head.
Let me look that up. I'm pretty sure it's... Oh, I'm actually Kratos smiling. I kind of want to see this.
It's really weird.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
It kind of makes me uncomfortable.
Okay.
Well, while Dan's looking that up, I'll give out my last fun fact. At the end of God of War 2, not at the end, some point in God of War 2, there's these two statues, and you can attack them, and it shows damage markers, and you're like, well, what the heck? And you can sit there and attack them for a super, super long time, and it does nothing. But if you do it for long enough, it breaks the statues, and it reveals an Easter egg, which is a 800 number that you call, and it has you listen to a conversation between the game creator and Kratos, and it ends in Kratos killing the game creator. And people are like, what? Like, why is this a thing? And the game creator was like, I don't know, it's just fun. Like, it's just stupid. Like, it's like 1-800 Kratos something. And I never saw the actual number, but yeah, you just listen to, I think it's Cory Barlog, not Balrog, and Kratos have a conversation, and then Kratos actually kills him in the end, which I think is super funny.
I got the name.
Okay.
Her name is La Faye the Just, or Faye for short.
Got it. Yeah. So Miss Faye did what she could to make him a good man, and I think she ended up doing it. And it's honestly the new installment game is so vastly different a game and so vastly a different a character in Kratos than the original games that you really don't need to play any of the other ones to really grasp this new one at all if someone was interested in getting it. I would say if you have a PlayStation or an emulator and don't play it, it's a huge mistake. It's probably in the top 5, if not top 3 for me in this generation. I actually have the PlayStation 4 Pro Collector's Edition for God of War, and it looks super cool. I love it. But yeah, ultimately, it's a great game. Yeah, I have no other qualms about it. I think everyone should play it. Everyone should spread the word that PlayStation is the actual master race. It's
true.
Dan, you got anything else there to add?
Nope. I just want to add the only thing that we complained about with his game is that boss fights were too hard. And so, like, what other game can, really claim the reason, I didn't like it was because it was too hard for me and I was a baby and I didn't want to keep trying and losing and failing.
Not the main boss fights, just the side boss fights.
The side
if you want to
boss
platinum
fights,
the game, it's a bit difficult, but no, I agree. There's really from the game itself, from start to finish, I was intrigued. It was one of those games that when I got done with my classes in college, I wanted to just go home and play it.
It sucks you in.
Yeah, I wanted to know what was going to happen next. I wanted to know what the solutions were to the problems they were going to have. I wanted to know more about the dwarf brothers, Brock, and I can't remember the other one's name.
Gosh, I totally forgot about them.
I can't remember the other one's name. Hold on, I gotta find out. Hold on.
But yeah, they did such a good job world building for that game, and just giving you just enough so you're like, this is what happens next, and then
Sindri.
it's like mostly right.
Sin,
One of them was short and fat, right, and the other
Yeah.
one was tall and lanky.
Yeah, Sindri was like a germaphobe and was like tall and skinny, and then Brock was short and tubby. Actually, the new God of War does have bad language in it. The original games didn't, but the new God of War, Brock says the F word quite a few times, actually.
Yeah.
But he's super gruff, and they're just the Smiths that help you upgrade your gear throughout the game, but I digress. Thanks for listening. Play the game. Find us here. This is the Council of Nerds podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever else podcasts are available. Anchor. There's a few other ones that we use as well. We're also on YouTube.
YouTube, I think.
Yeah, we have a YouTube channel called the Council of Nerds. We also have a Discord, the Council of Nerds Discord. We have a few people on there. It's not as active as we would like it to be. So if you listen to this and are interested in being part of a nerd community and want to be more active with us, come on over and just introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like to learn about or read about or watch about or whatever. We'd love to see you over there. And just let us know how we can improve as well. That's part of our Discord. We are always looking for ways to improve, whether it's Dan, getting a more luscious tone of voice, or me not being sick the next time we record. Whatever it might be. We are the Council of Nerds, and we will catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Goodbye.
The Council of Nerds.